Good afternoon and welcome to Ministry Shift. I'm Reverend Mary Smith, and today we're going to be thinking about the question of rest and time off during lockdown. And to help me to discuss this today, I've got Reverend Jim Trude, I've got Reverend Malcolm Mycock, Reverend Chris Thorpe, and Reverend Margaret Sherwin. I hope I've got that right. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to see you all today. Looking variously quite rested, maybe a little bit frazzled underneath. But how are we doing? How are we able to take more or less time off than before? Jim, how are you getting on?
Um, in theory, I suppose I should be able to take more time off, but I'm finding it very, very hard to actually take time off. I have to work hard at doing that. My work pattern has changed completely. I have Friday as my day off now rather than the Tuesday, because we're preparing everything at the start of the week for services. But I force myself to take a day off each week, one way or another. And actually, I'm feeling quite refreshed because I managed to have a bank holiday and a day off over the weekend.
Well, I'm feeling quite envious. How are you feeling about that, Malcolm?
Yeah, I've got to say I'm finding it pretty difficult to switch off, to be honest with you. There's just sort of so much going on. So yeah, not finding it easy at all. I think the phone's a big problem. I think I kind of need to put the phone down and turn it off for a day. But then, of course, I worry because there's always a message on there from somebody who you think, oh. So I struggle with that, to be honest with you. Yeah, I find it really hard to switch off.
Margaret, would you agree?
Definitely. The phone is the problem because folk know that we're at home, apart from if we're out doing a funeral, we can't be very far else. And they know that we're there, especially when it's a weekend and we're not doing funerals. And and I tried to take a day off last week where I was just going to go in the garden and do nothing. And the phone kept going. And one of the calls was for someone who was in a domestic abuse situation, and I needed to get out to take something to them. And so if I'd have ignored the phone, I'm not sure where they would have sourced some help. And that doesn't mean that that's my thing rather than theirs, if you know what I mean. I chose to answer the phone, but it is hard to just switch off and down tools. And I'm constantly glued to the computer screen if I come in the study. So I try to avoid it unless I need to.
Yeah, so you're saying that you're managing to, Jim. How are you doing that?
Well, it is very difficult. I mean, we do naturally have a desire to help as part of our calling, as it were. And when we're at home, we feel guilty if we're not working, and we're at home all the time. But the way I do it is I know that the parish expect me to take a day off a week, although they may not always know when it is. So I tell them very clearly when I'm having a day off. I've changed it, so I've had to tell them again. And on my answer phone, I've set a new answer phone message every time I have a day off saying, I'm not at work today, but I'll be back at work tomorrow. If it's an emergency, please leave a message and I'll get back to you. And I don't answer the phone unless they leave a message. And then I get back to them.
I hope you don't mind if I take a few notes there, Jim. I think that would be very helpful to me. So we're not just experiencing that difficult question of setting up our boundaries and making sure that we are trying our best to take days off, because actually it is one of the 10 commandments was based on Sabbath, but the week is changing. Share of tales.
So it's very similar to the others, that the shape of the week has changed. I'm still taking Friday off, and we go out for a walk first thing. So we just literally get out the house and have a couple of hours out, walking around the local area. But I think the really tricky thing is just how interesting this time is, and how it's provoked. I mean, they say it's a curse, isn't it? May you live in interesting times. But I'm exhausted with just all the new stuff and innovating, and which I find fascinating. So we did an online live messy church last week, which we're going to try and do each week. And whilst I find that stimulating and great to do, the cumulative thing is I'm quite tired.
Yeah.
So and the other thing is I'm finding that it's taking much longer to prepare for services. So I've had a really bad day today of just not quite doing the service properly. It's not coming, and lots of interruptions and stuff. So I'm up and down with it a bit, but I do think that partly we're our own worst enemies because we do just keep on thinking of stuff to do and new ways of doing it. And I could just do this or I could just do that.
Mm. Yeah, I wonder how much our desire to make a difference or to grasp these opportunities that we're having is actually putting pressure on us. So, are you finding anything like that, Malcolm?
I've got to say I am, yeah. I mean, I am pretty bad at taking time off, I must admit, anyway. And I get very excited about things. It's a bit like it's just been said. There's just so much going on at the minute, and it's exciting. And I kind of think, oh, we could do that. I want to have a go at that. And I find myself, even when I'm sat down and trying to take some time off, my mind's sort of busy thinking, you know, could we reach out? Could that work there? Could I do more with the schools? And I'm just, yeah. And like I say, this is my problem. I know it is. It's, and I guess I don't know. I suppose I'm quite new to ministry, really, compared to some of you, I would say.
Yeah,
Just come
that was something I actually found in my curacy when I was doing my curacy some 15, 20 years ago. But I learned very quickly that if I didn't take time off each week, that the parish suffered and I didn't do my job so well. And so I have to take time off. I have to force myself to take time off to do my job better and actually for everybody else's benefit. That way I honour the people I serve.
I think I've got to say, I think you're right, Jim, because I find if I do take some time and I stop trying so hard, actually things come easier and better. There's no doubt about it. But trying to convince myself that I find hard sometimes.
Yeah, perspective is a fantastic thing, isn't it?
The pre-lockdown, Mary, the pre-lockdown thing, which made the most difference to me, was taking the 2 days once a month.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the impact that had. And I really do recommend that. I haven't managed to do it in lockdown. There's just simply been too much to do. But those 2 days once a month, if I could get back to that, I know that would produce a better result in the end.
Absolutely. And we would have to think of possibly different things to do than we would normally maybe take ourselves off for a couple of days. But what activities do you find that you're doing on rest days now that might be different in the lockdown?
I'm gardening and I hate gardening.
Oh, Margaret, what are you up to?
Well, I started watercolour painting in January. I started it because my art tutor every week sends me this week's information and I paint, and I find that the most refreshing thing, getting up first thing on a nice bright morning and sitting there, just do it, that's the best thing. And I've done jigsaws, I like reading, I knit, I sew, I garden, I do all those bits of things, but I still don't switch off apart from when I'm painting.
Oh, fantastic. That's amazing. What else have people been doing? Chris, what have you been up to?
Well, I have to say I love my garden, and I've been a lifelong vegetable gardener, and this year has been the best year ever because we're not able to go anywhere, so you can just do those little bits here and there, and it's all looking pretty good at the moment.
And has anybody taken to any sort of activity that they're wanting to keep up after the lockdown?
Not yet.
Nothing exciting.
Yeah, okay. Next.
We're doing a daily walk, 3-mile walk, and definitely going to keep that up.
3-mile walk every day?
Every day. Takes an hour, just at the end of the day, 5 o'clock, and meet all the same people going round. It's great.
Oh, wonderful.
We've started, my daughter and I have started quizzing with some friends up north where we're from. Once a week we do like a pub quiz thing, trying to get my friends some meatloaf tickets, but there we go. And that I think we'll continue that when lockdown's over, because we don't actually get up there very often to see them, but it'd be nice to do something even if it was once a month rather than once a week. So that's been, and I'm new to this technological sort of, I can do the day job stuff, but all of this other stuff, and I mean that side I'm enjoying. I can't say I'm enjoying all the other stuff on the technology.
Absolutely. Malcolm, what are you doing? Are you doing anything different or exactly the same?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I am gardening more, but a bit like Jim, I can't stand it. I like gardening. I like sitting in gardens and reading in them, but I'm not too keen on doing anything in them. But yeah, so more gardening. More actually, I've been reading more. Actually, that's been good. So when I do get sort of, I don't know, half an hour, because that helps me switch off. And actually, reading more. I've been reading the Narnia stuff. Actually, I've never read.
Yeah.
So I've really been enjoying that. I've got through
Great.
the first 5 books. So more to go. So that's been good.
Fantastic. I'm sure I've said before, but I've been sewing. This is one I put together. I'm absolutely loving it. And I think there's something about that creativity and the extra opportunity to read the things we might otherwise not be able to that's really fulfilling. So I'm definitely going to keep sewing after the lockdown. And I might even start trying to read more audiobooks than I would regularly, and different types. I'm a historical fiction fan, but actually I might go back to the Narnia books. Time off, or actually anything else that we've talked about today that you think post lockdown you're going to get stuck into?
Something I've done before, which I'm finding even more important during lockdown, is I actually put in my diary when I have time off. And so whenever I'm looking to arrange something, I know that I need to preserve that time off, either whether it's time off each day or time off once a week or whatever. And I find actually putting it in the diary makes a big difference. So I'll carry that one.
That's fantastic. Thank you all so much. As we look at that daunting question about rest and time off during the lockdown, thank you so much for your help.